Grok trades his best spear to the toolmaker for a new scraper. But Grok does not hand over the spear directly. He hands it to the chief first. The chief scratches a mark on a stone, hands the stone to the toolmaker, and keeps the spear in his meat vault. The toolmaker now owns a promise, not a spear. And the chief shaved a bit off the trade for his trouble. The toolmaker does not complain, because this is how things work. Every hunt, every trade, every stored piece of meat flows through the chief. The chief says this keeps everyone safe. But then winter comes early. 3 hunters try to pull their stored meat from the vault at once. The chief says the vault is closed until morning. 1 hunter starves that night, and in the morning, when the vault opens, there is less meat than anyone remembers storing. The chief says he had to take some for vault maintenance. What actually happened is the chief realized he controlled all the meat and all the stones, and nobody could stop him from rewriting the scratches. So here is what the tribe figured out. For generations, hunters did not trade meat directly. They traded marked stones. You hunt a mammoth, you drag it to the chief's vault, the chief stores the mammoth meat and hands you 10 stones with scratches on them. Those stones represent 10 cuts of meat. You take those stones to the berry gatherer and trade 3 stones for a basket of berries. The berry gatherer takes those 3 stones to the firekeeper and trades them for a night of warmth. The firekeeper takes them back to the chief and pulls 3 cuts of meat from the vault. This system emerged because meat spoils. Storing it in one big cold cave made sense. The chief ran the vault, kept the scratches accurate, and made sure no one cheated. In exchange, the chief took a small cut of every trade. 1 stone out of every 10 went to the chief. This was the fee. You accepted it because the alternative was letting your meat rot in your own cave or getting robbed on the way to a trade. But the system had problems that compounded over time. The first problem was the fee structure. Every trade cost you. If you wanted to trade with another tribe across the valley, the chief took 2 stones instead of 1, because coordinating with the other tribe's chief was harder. If you wanted to pull your own meat out of the vault, the chief charged you a stone for access. If you died and your family wanted to claim your stones, the chief charged 3 stones to verify the scratches. You spent your whole life hunting, and by the time you were old, 1/3 of everything you ever killed had gone to the chief just in fees, and you had no choice. The chief was the only one who could read the scratches and verify trades. He was the vault. You either used his system or you starved. The second problem was speed. Let us say you are hunting in the northern caves and you badly need a new spear. Your spear just broke. There is a toolmaker in the southern caves who has one. You have stones. He wants stones. This should be simple. But you have to send a runner to the chief. The chief has to send a runner to the southern tribe's chief. That chief has to verify your stones are real, scratch a message back, send a runner back to your chief, and your chief sends a runner to you with approval. This takes 4 days. You are hunting with a broken spear for 4 days. And if either chief is busy, sick, or just does not feel like working that day, your trade does not happen. The entire system runs at the speed of 2 old men scratching rocks. The third problem was control. The chief could do anything he wanted with the system because he was the system. If the chief did not like you, he could freeze your stones. Just stop honoring them. You show up to trade and the berry gatherer says, "Sorry, the chief told me your stones are no good. You have no recourse." You cannot prove anything because the chief controls the scratch wall and he is the only one who says what is real. Even worse, the chief could make more stones whenever he wanted. You worked all summer, earned 20 stones, and the chief decides to make 50 more stones for himself to pay for a new hut. Now your 20 stones are worth less because there are more total stones in circulation. The meat in the vault did not increase, just the stones. So your stones buy less. This is inflation. The chief prints stones, your buying power drops, and you cannot do anything because you do not control the scratching. And the fourth problem was access. Not everyone could use the chief's system. The chief decided who got stones and who did not. If you were from a smaller family, if you hunted in the outer territories, if you did not show up to tribal meetings, the chief could just refuse to give you stones. You still hunted, you still had meat, but without stones, you could not trade inside the tribe. You were locked out of the entire economy. And the chief liked it this way because it kept everyone dependent on him. So some hunters started asking a simple question: why do we need the chief? The answer everyone gave was trust. You need someone to verify trades, keep records, and prevent cheating. Without the chief, how do you know the stones are real? How do you know someone is not trading the same stone twice? How do you stop someone from scratching fake marks and pretending they have meat in the vault? The chief was the trusted authority. He was the system. And for a long time, that answer worked. But then a group of hunters tried something different. They stopped using the chief stones entirely. They started trading steaks directly. Not marked stones that represented meat, actual steaks. You hunt a deer, you cut it into steaks, you carry the steaks with you, and when you want to trade, you hand over the steak. No chief, no vault, no fees. Just meat for tools, meat for fire, meat for berries. This sounds simple, but it immediately created a new problem. How do you stop someone from trading the same steak twice? You give a steak to the toolmaker walks away. You run to the berry gatherer and say you still have that steak and want to trade it again. The berry gatherer has no way to know you already traded it. There is no central record. This is the double spin problem, and it is why everyone used the chief in the first place. The hunters solved this with one idea. Instead of one chief keeping a private scratch wall that only he could read, they built a public scratch wall that everyone could see. Every time anyone traded a steak, the trade was scratched into the wall. Grok trades one steak to Mock for a spear. That sentence gets scratched into the wall. Everyone walks by, everyone sees it, and now everyone knows Grok no longer has that steak. If Grok tries to trade the same steak again, someone will look at the wall and say, "No, you already traded that." The wall does not lie because everyone is watching it. This is the first piece, a public record that no one person controls. But someone still has to do the scratching. You cannot have 50 hunters all scratching at once or the wall becomes unreadable. So the hunters created a new role, scratch keepers. These are hunters who volunteer to verify trades and scratch them into the wall. When you trade a steak, you announce the trade to the scratch keepers. They check the wall to make sure you actually have that steak and have not already traded it. If everything checks out, they add your trade to the wall. And because there are multiple scratch keepers and they all have to agree, no single keeper can cheat. If one keeper tries to scratch a fake trade, the other keepers will reject it. Now here is where it gets interesting. Why would anyone volunteer to be a scratch keeper? It is hard work. You have to verify trades all day. You have to check the wall constantly. You do not get to hunt as much. The hunters solve this with incentives. Every time a keeper successfully scratches a full section of trades into the wall, they earn a reward. A new steak appears. It is created out of nothing as payment for their work. This is how new steaks enter the system. Not from the chief printing stones, but from keepers doing the work of verification. And because the work is hard and requires effort, new steaks only appear when real work is done. This is proof of work. The keeper proves they did the work and they get paid in new steaks. But you might be thinking, what stops a keeper from just scratching fake trades and giving themselves more steaks? The answer is the other keepers. Every time a keeper finishes a section, they have to announce it to the tribe. All the other keepers look at the new section, verify every trade in it, and vote on whether it is accurate. If the majority agrees, the section gets added to the wall. If even one trade is fake, the entire section gets rejected, and the keeper who scratched it earns nothing. So cheating does not pay. You do more work trying to cheat than you would just doing the job honestly. And because every hunter can see the wall at any time, there are thousands of eyes watching for mistakes. The wall grows over time. Each section of scratches connects to the previous section. Section 1 has 10 trades, Section 2 has 10 more trades and references Section 1. Section 3 has 10 more and references Section 2. They chain together. This is why they call it the chain. And because each section references the one before it, you cannot go back and change an old trade without rewriting every section that came after it. Let us say you want to fake a trade from 5 days ago. You would have to re-scratch that section, then the next section, then the next, and so on all the way to today. And you would have to do this faster than the current keepers are scratching new sections. It is mathematically impossible unless you control more than half of all the keepers in the tribe, which you do not. So the chain is permanent. Once a trade is scratched in, it stays. Now, let me give you a real scenario with numbers to show you how this changes things. Torg is a hunter in the northern caves. He kills a mammoth and gets 40 steaks from it. He wants to trade 10 steaks with Vex, a toolmaker in the southern caves, for a new hunting knife. Under the old chief system, Torg would need 4 to 6 days for the trade to process, and the chief would take 2 steaks as a fee for coordinating with the southern chief. So Torg would send 10 steaks and Vex would receive 8 steaks, and the knife would arrive in 6 days. Under the stake system, Torg announces the trade to the scratch keepers. The keepers verify Torg has 10 steaks by checking the wall. They scratch the trade. Vex sees the trade on the wall immediately. The whole process takes less than an hour. The fee is 0, or maybe 1 small piece of jerky if the keepers are busy that day. Torg sent 10 steaks, Vex received 10 steaks, and the knife is on its way. Torg saved 2 steaks and 5 days. But the new system is not perfect. The first problem is volatility. The value of steaks swings wildly. One day, a steak is worth 3 baskets of berries. 2 days later, a steak is worth 1 basket. Why? Because news spreads fast, and the value is determined by what hunters are willing to trade. A rumor starts that a massive herd of deer is migrating through the valley. Suddenly, everyone thinks there will be more steaks soon, so the value of existing steaks drops because supply is about to increase. Then the herd never shows up. The value shoots back up. If you are holding steaks and trying to trade, this is chaos. You think you have enough to trade for a new shelter, but by the time you walk to the builder, your steaks are worth half as much. The chief stone system was slow and expensive, but at least the value was stable because the chief controlled it. The second problem is the keepers themselves. Scratch keeping requires a lot of effort. You need sharp tools, strong arms, good eyes, and a lot of time. As more hunters join the system and more trades happen, the keepers need better and better tools to keep up. Some keepers start using teams of younger hunters to scratch faster. This works, but it creates a new issue. The teams that can scratch the fastest earn the most new steaks. Over time, a few large keeper teams dominate the system. And running these teams requires a lot of resources. They burn through tools, they need constant supplies, and this has an environmental cost. The valley has a limited number of good scratching rocks. The keeper teams are using them up faster than nature replaces them. The third problem is reputation. The stake system attracts bad actors. Some hunters create fake stake schemes. They announce a new type of steak, a special premium cut that is supposedly better than regular steaks. They tell everyone to trade their regular steaks for these premium steaks, promising the value will go up. A lot of hunters get excited. They trade in, the value does go up because everyone is buying. Then the hunters who created the premium steaks sell all of theirs at the peak, take the regular steaks, and disappear. The value of the premium steaks crashes to 0. Everyone who bought in is left holding worthless meat. This is called a rug pull. It happens because the stake system is open. Anyone can create a new type of steak and anyone can trade. There is no chief to stop bad trades. You have freedom, but you also have responsibility. If you trade for a bad steak, that is on you. The fourth problem is theft. While the wall itself is secure and no one can fake trades on it, your personal stake cache is not protected by the wall. If someone knows where you hide your stakes, they can steal them. Under the old chief system, the chief's vault was guarded. Under the stake system, you are your own vault. If you are careless, you lose everything. There are stories of hunters who stored their stakes in poorly hidden caves and came back to find them gone. The wall shows the stakes existed, but the wall does not tell you who took them. The thief just moves them to their own cache and the stakes vanish. And the fifth problem is adoption. Even though the stake system is faster, cheaper, and more open, most hunters still use the chief's stones. Why? Habit, trust, familiarity. The chief has been running the system for generations. Everyone knows how it works. The stake system is new and weird. You have to learn how the wall works, how to verify trades, how to protect your cache. It is more responsibility. A lot of hunters look at the stake system and say it is too complicated, too risky, too volatile. They would rather pay the chief's fees and deal with his delays because at least they understand it. Change is hard even when the change is better. So what actually is this stake system? It is a way to trade value without a central authority. You do not need the chief. You do not need the vault. You do not need marked stones. You trade real stakes, and the wall keeps everyone honest. The wall is public, permanent, and verified by multiple independent keepers who are paid in new stakes for their work. The system is open to everyone, runs all the time, and processes trades faster than the chief ever could. The cost is volatility, environmental impact, theft risk, scams, and low adoption. You gain freedom and speed. You lose stability and protection. Now, you are probably asking yourself, is this better or worse than the chief system? The answer depends on what you value. If you want speed, low fees, and control over your own stakes, the stake system wins. If you want stability, protection, and simplicity, the chief system wins. Most hunters end up using both. They keep some stones with the chief for everyday trades and some stakes in their own cash for trades the chief would block or delay. This is the rational move. You do not have to pick one system. You use the tool that fits the job. But here is the thing no one talks about. The stake system did not replace the chief. It just gave hunters an alternative. And the moment hunters had an alternative, the chief had to compete. The fees dropped. The processing times got faster. The chief started honoring more trade requests because he knew if he did not, hunters would leave and use stakes instead. The existence of the stake system made the chief's system better. And that is the real value. Not that stakes are perfect. They are not. But they forced the old system to improve because for the first time, the chief was not the only option. So here are 3 things you actually need to understand. First, the stake system is not magic. It is just a different way to track trades using a public record instead of a private one. The wall replaces the chief. The keepers replace the vault guards. The stakes replace the stones. Same function, different structure. Second, every system has trade-offs. The chief's system has fees, delays, and control. The stake system has volatility, theft, risk, and complexity. You do not escape trade-offs. You just pick which trade-offs you can live with. And third, the real shift is not technological. It is psychological. The moment you realize the chief's vault is just a cave with scratches on stones, and those stones only have value because everyone agrees they do, you realize the stake system is no crazier than the old system. Both are shared illusions. Both require trust. The question is whether you trust one person or a crowd. Most hunters never think about this. They trade, they eat, they survive. But every once in a while, someone looks at the chief's vault and asks why. And that question breaks the system. Because the answer is always the same. You use the chief system because everyone else does. And the moment enough hunters stop doing it, the chief's power vanishes, like smoke. The stakes do not replace the stones. They just show you the stones were never real to begin with.